Is your excitement for the season tempered at all because of what is happening with Nick Bosa? The great Amy Trask of CBS Sports and former Raiders and Big Three fame joined us earlier on the show and said that she had a hunch that this is still going to get worked out.
My hunch is starting to wane a bit. But the minute this all started, I just simply thought they're going to find a way to get this done. You've got a guy like Nick Bosa on your team. He is just, the quintessential disruptor. You're a different team with him on the field. I'll go back to what we just talked about, which is the team, not looking to fine him, not looking to penalize him. It just struck me that the team wants to find a way to get this done, and I hope that's still the case. I don't know if something disrupted these negotiations, if something, took a bad turn, but I think part of the reason I'm predicting this, and it's more like, let's call it a spidey sense. How do you go into a season wanting to win it all, which the 49ers believe they're capable of doing? They believe they've got a window to do that, and not have this guy on the team on the field.
Do you hear what she's saying there at the end? This is the only reason I have any optimism. Well, maybe there are two reasons. One is I'm always optimistic.
That's true.
That is how I roll.
Except for last segment,
dog. Well, I still
buried those poor guys.
I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but that's just me.
Big deal.
Anyway,
big fish dinner.
Yeah. This doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm optimistic. This doesn't make any sense. This makes no sense that the 49ers would let it get till now. It doesn't make any sense that Nick Bosa would let it get till now. It doesn't make any sense. You hear the same thing when it gets to stuff like, they might trade him. The Colts might trade Jonathan Taylor. Right, because they don't care what the hell's going on with their team this year. They don't care.
Niners aren't trading Nick Bosa.
They're not trading Nick Bosa. The 49ers.
Are the Warriors trading Steph Curry? Because they probably could. They could probably find a team to take on Steph's contract. I think that Nick Bosa's not quite in that same stratosphere, but the Warriors aren't trading Steph Curry, and the Niners aren't trading Nick Bosa.
And I love, and I see, Beard on YouTube just said, hey, this makes all the sense in the world for Bosa. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You got to stop acting like Bosa's got all the leverage. He's got, I think, the more than 50%, but he doesn't have all of it. The 49ers are certainly welcome to play hardball and hold down Nick's career for the next 2 years, 2 prime years of his 20s. He doesn't want that. And by the way, as much as Nick is completely motivated, as he should be, by getting every dollar he's owed, by the same token, he's motivated to become a Super Bowl champion too. Do you think he wants to get traded to the Commanders?
No.
Or something? No. This marriage has worked perfectly for everyone. The defensive player of the year is in part because of what is surrounding him and the support that he's gotten from this organization. And the 49ers can't win without him. They have great players on defense who I think are better because Nick's there. The whole thing works in concert. Both sides have some leverage. They're in a win-now mode, and the money for this was budgeted. And everybody is all north of $30 million. So I sit here today, and some of these questions may or may not get answered when this deal finally happens. But through my eyes, this makes no sense. This makes no sense.
It makes business sense.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And when I say it makes no sense, I mean if this gets past this Sunday.
Yes, and I know that you understand the financial machinations and the ramifications on both sides as far as the Niners want to minimize the cap hit or spread it out as far as they possibly can, and Nick Bosa wants all the money he can get, but he wants it guaranteed. So if that's where the gulf exists between the Niners want to pay him, they want to make him whole, they want to keep him. Nick Bosa wants to be paid, he wants to be made whole, and he wants to stay. So how far apart are they, and how can they bridge that gap in terms of what he wants from a guarantee and what they want in terms of the cap hit? Because he's making $17.9 this year. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned this before. If he misses a game and he misses a game check, That is $1.05 million.
$1 million
Per game. $1 million and change. It's $1,050,000 is about what he makes per game. So I would imagine he doesn't want to miss out on $1 million where he's only going to play 60 or 70% of the snaps anyway.
I think you said this now, and you said it, I think, even at more length during the crossover. You think this is about the guarantee.
I do.
If you're right, then I am completely on Bosa's side. I don't know that you're right, but if you're right, that's where I would completely be on Bosa's side for two reasons. Guaranteeing more money doesn't cost you more money. You're just guaranteeing it.
Right.
And
Well, it costs you more if he doesn't play.
Of course, but that's a risk I'm willing to take if I'm the 49ers. Because, again, this is a 25-year-old superstar. You'd love to protect yourself against injury, but guess what? So would the player. And that's all he's doing. In the NFL, that is one area where the NFL and its owners, they get away with stuff. They get away with stuff because they don't want to guarantee money to people who play the most violent sport out there. Now, I understand why the league does that. The league does that because they figure if they don't, because there are so many injuries, they would not be able to field a roster by the end of the year because you end up having to bring in more people and more people and more people because so many guys get hurt. But Nick is not your average player. He's one of the superstars of the league. I have zero issue with the fact that quarterbacks have gotten themselves to a point of fully guaranteed deals. And we're probably not far off from non-quarterbacks getting it. That will come. And Nick would be one of those people. So if this isn't about average annual,
right?
If this isn't about getting over the top of Aaron Donald's deal, and this is simply about the guarantee, well, then I am Team Bosa 100% all the way around. He deserves it. He deserves to have those guarantees. He's torn both ACLs. He puts his body on the line. He does everything right and plays hard. If you're guaranteeing his money through injury, to me, that is a totally fair risk that the 49ers have to take, and it's a totally fair request from Nick Bosa.
Depends on what that number is as far as guarantees goes. And I'm looking at his brother right now, $135 million contract, 102 guaranteed. So that's about an 80% guarantee on the number. So if Nick Bosa wants to get $32 million over 5, that's 160. So then you'd be looking at about 125 or 130 guaranteed, which would be the highest guarantee in history.
By far. It'd
be the highest average annual for a defensive player in history. It'd be the highest total in history. I believe the highest total right now is Khalil Mack, 141, 90 of which was guaranteed for Khalil Mack. The biggest guarantee is Joey Bosa, the highest average annual, Aaron Donald, and the biggest overall, Khalil Mack. So if he wants the Triple Crown, if he wants to break all three of those barriers, that's a big ask.
It's a huge ask.
But I think he's worth it.
Well, I just think that there might even be a give and take there. Your average annual might come down a touch if you guarantee more of it. Again, I don't know what's holding this up, and I don't know what both sides are asking. But one thing I would never do is fault a football player, especially a great one. I would not fault them for trying to get every guaranteed dollar. Because and we know this, there are NFL players. You remember Jamie Williams, the old tight end?
Yeah.
I saw him speak one time. He came and spoke to like a class or something. I can't even remember. I can't place it.
Totally.
I was in the audience. He was talking.
Name dropper.
No, I think he came to our high school. I think maybe he came to our high school. Yeah, there you go. Same place, same building where the tiger went flying up. Same stage. Okay? So he came and he told the story of what he would do with some of his teammates in between plays. And they would whisper to each other, every play like it's your last. Right as they got ready to go play. Every play like it's your last. And he told the story of why they did that. Because it might be.
Yeah.
Because it might be. Okay? Like, I don't want to get all, like, crazy and emotional here, but, like, Damar Hamlin happened last year. Guarantee the damn money. Okay? Because that can happen at any moment.
Yeah.
Guarantee
love the speech.
The damn money.
It's an impassioned speech, and it's moving, and I appreciate it, but somewhere there are 32 owners listening to this program, and they're holding their belly, and they're trying not to pee themselves because they're laughing so hard.
We've got all owners listening?
All 32
All
of them, I
32?
guarantee you. And right now, they're on a group chat, and they're saying, can you believe what this name-dropping San Mateo Bearcat just said? Bearcats, right?
That's correct.
I shouldn't have stopped.
I
Can you
don't think-
believe
I don't
what
think they
this,
are laughing.
what this pie in the sky San Francisco SOB just said?
Dibs, Nick's got him.
Jerry Jones is wetting himself right now.
That's fine.
For a multitude of reasons.
Jerry Jones is the guy who had to grab his tail and shove it all the way between his legs.
Hello.
When Emmitt Smith held out.
He did, because they were
All
0-2.
the way.
But did Emmett get a guaranteed deal?
Well,
of course
it
not.
was different then.
I know, but it's also, we're not to the point yet, and I'm not saying
guarantee the whole thing.
I'm
That's
not
what I'm saying.
that your premise is totally right, because you've got baseball players who your number one fear is having somebody throw the ball and hit you, which could kill you. We know that. Baseball is about 1/10 as dangerous as professional football, and they're guaranteed. And Jordan Poole is going to make $135 million or so. He doesn't even have to go to the hoop anymore. He can shoot spot-up jumpers,
Probably will.
and it's guaranteed. But these guys who literally put their lives on the line, their contracts aren't guaranteed. You're not wrong in what you're saying. And I do think that Nick Bosa, if I'm Nick Bosa, and I've had the injury history that he's had going back to high school and in college and in the pros, I'm thinking only of that guaranteed number.
And again, I don't know that that's the holdup, but if it is, then I'm on Nick's side, because that's, if you're not asking for more per year, it doesn't change the cap. You're just asking for guarantees. And as a football player, I think that's totally fair. I'm not saying 100% guaranteed, but a big, fat, huge fatty, yes.
Look at you.
Okay? You're listening to 95.7 The Game. KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Hey, Mark in Oakland, thank you for calling Willard and Dibs. What are you doing?
Hey, I'm just wrapping up work. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it.
This is it. What's that?
I said thanks for making the call.
Sure, my pleasure. This is an interesting, well, it opens up a bigger interesting subject, at least for my mind, because I feel like, and I'll just say, obviously, because they're not being transparent with the process, I'm very aware that this is a theory that I'm posing. I know I don't know, but this is my theory, and sort of the pattern I feel like I see going back to Garoppolo and then Trey Lance and now with Bosa. There's these things where it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem logical. And over, and I feel like that's starting to be a pattern with some of the decision-making. It doesn't look like it lines up on paper. And here's my theory as to why. I think personalities, more than principles, they're weighted heavier for some reason with the 49ers. That's just my theory. Because why Garoppolo, who was winning, it didn't work. I feel like it was a personality thing more than it didn't make sense. Trey Lance, you're just going to move off this guy? I don't know. It just still doesn't make sense to me. That one a little less, but Nick Bosa doesn't make sense to me. And I have a feeling they don't like, this is how I put it, stars so much. They like, team player, and you're not going to stand out, and we got the system here, and it's all about Shanahan. It just feels like that to me, which maybe that works. Maybe that's good. I don't know. But that's my theory, is this is a lot more about personality and ego, and I do disagree with that Bosa has the leverage. I think the 2-year thing swings it maybe 60-40, 70-30 toward the Niners, because that's way too long. He's not going to hold out that whole time. So I think they know, and they're like, we're not going over the moon for this. We're going to keep it in check. We're not going to buy into he's a big star, we have to do it. I just don't think they do that. And I think sometimes it's a mistake, but I think there could be some egos and personalities that play in the 49ers decision-making. Maybe that's a product of Shanahan. I'm not sure. Kind of seems like it to me. It's a theory for your approval or disapproval. What do you think?
So
Appreciate it, Mark.
Thank you for the call. Very, very well-reasoned and well-delivered point. But I respectfully disagree
that they don't love stars.
That's what's going on. Well, I mean, okay, so let's pull apart some of what he said. That they don't love stars. Well, they got a bunch of them,
right?
And they've paid them. Like
and I
George
think the
Kittle.
Jimmy thing had nothing to do with his Q rating or his beautiful smoky brown eyes.
Well, and I'd also Jimmy. Jimmy, as far as personality, like they paid him already once. Why did they not pay him again? Things did get a little rough between Kyle and Jimmy, but not until after they had already decided to move on. So I actually completely think that had to do with exactly what the Niners said it had to do with. Jimmy couldn't stay healthy. Jimmy was sometimes ineffective, and they wanted a QB on a rookie deal. Trey, I don't think was personality related at all. I think they loved the hell out of his personality. I think they loved everything about Trey the person. That to me was about the football player. So I don't think there's a trend there. Now, the other thing he said, the 2 years that the Niners have control over Bosa, giving them the leverage, I'll tell you why I disagree there, and I still put more than 50% of the leverage with Bosa. What you're leaving out of that conversation is the Niners' total obsession with winning the Super Bowl this year. It is an obsession. Football is not a sport where you can play the long game. It's too violent. You can't think, well, if we don't win this year, well, man, you can't do it.
And he meant 2 years based on fifth-year option and franchise tag. Okay,
exactly.
That's not the way the Niners do business.
No, they don't want to do that.
They've tagged one player in the Lynch and Shanahan era. One. Mm-hmm. Do you know who that is?
One player in the
Only
Lynch
one player has ever
era.
been FT'd by Lynch and Shanahan. He's no longer a Niner, and he's currently unemployed. Boy, some fans want him back bad.
Oh, right. Yeah, you gave me enough clues.
I didn't want to ruin the bit.
This is the guy that Doc Feely ripped unceremoniously
No, that was Ray Wershing.
an hour ago. No, he studies. We always suck at kicker.
Robbie Gould.
Robbie Gould.
The Niners don't use the tag. They don't weaponize it either. You never hear that, well, you know what we could do? Harumph, harumph. They don't do that.
No, they don't.
They do things above board, and that's, I think, why players want to come here.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
That is reason number 5 why this doesn't make any sense.
No.
I know people want to take it there. Oh, those Niners, those cheapskate, mother bleeper, this, that. No, that's not them. Like, they've literally gotten into, I would say, 2 high-level disagreements with players in the Lynch and Shanahan era. One of them they traded to the Colts. Whoops.
And that wasn't even that high profile. That was more...
No, but they were disagreeing behind the scenes on the number.
Sure.
They did not like what DeForest was saying in terms of the number, and so they opted to move on and find something cheaper. The other one was obviously last year with Bo, and they figured it out.
Right.
And he's ready to go. So
he's making, and I've just looked at next year's cap as we start to think about, like, give Nick whatever he wants. And I've been in that camp. But if you look at who they already have on the books for next year, they've got 9 players at $14 million or higher.
Oh, dude, it's time to pay the piper next year.
Ayuk and McCaffrey, Javon Hargraves at 15, Charvarius Mooney's at 17.9, Hey Diddle Diddle Kittle's at 19.8, Freddie Warner 24 and change, Armstead's at 25.8, Trent's at 28, Bo is at 28.6. So something's got to give, my brother.
And Ayuk will be up for a deal. So when you lay all that out, that's why Nick has leverage, because all of that ain't staying long term.
Even next year.
I hate to break it to everybody. People on that list are not going to be Niners within the next couple of years. I don't know how many of them.
I mean, even next year, I don't know how
Maybe next year.
Between those 9 guys, you're talking about $140 million, and then you throw in Nick Bosa's 30 and change.
Is Kittle an injury situation? Is Trent retiring? Is Ayuk not re-signed? Is Debo traded? There's all this stuff that's potentially on the table. Therefore, remember Naked Gun, right? Must kill the queen. That's Kyle Shanahan right now.
Shout out Orenthal.
Must win
that was
the
Reggie
Super Bowl.
Jackson, I apologize.
Must win the Super Bowl. Well, Orenthal was there, but anyway.
Yes, but that was Reggie.
Yes, it was Reggie.
Thought he nailed it. It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Must win the Super Bowl. You cannot push this off. And Nick knows that, and his agent knows that. They're sitting there going, dude, hey, You want to win the Super Bowl or not? Like
That's a 3, but I love the effort.
Yeah, that's now. The Niners have no interest in being like, well, we're going to play hardball, and Nick won't play for 2 years, so ha ha ha. Well, then you lose too.
But at the same time, looking at all these numbers for next year's cap, as I do my Parag Marate here on 95.7 The Game, if you're going to Parag it up and you're looking at all of this, you're thinking, we got to save every possible dollar we can. We just can't give him 35 like Dibley wants.
Right, but how's that?
29.6.
I get your point. Oh, gosh, it's Parag and Farhan and
Hey,
Tiger. They're all the same guy.
I mean, I like our chances against Pittsburgh.
Do they all have Stanford ties? Does Farhan have a Stanford tie? Because Parag teaches there and Tiger went there.
Sure.
Do you think all Stanford people talk like that?
You have to prove me wrong.
brush.
Christian McCaffrey, am I right? David Shaw.
Christian McCaffrey.
Pretty mellow cat.
Does Farhan have a Stanford tie?
I paid a quick visit to his Wikipedia page. Control find Stanford. Nothing's popping up.
Nothing. Okay.
Look at Granny with a control find.
I think, does he have some Cal ties? Or was that just because he was near Cal when he was with the A's? Yeah. Give me Farhan for being on the Berkeley side of this fence.
I like that.
Is there anything?
He has a doctor of philosophy and economics from Berkeley.
There it is. I knew it.
Put it on the board.
So Farhan hates Stanford.
There you go.
That's a rivalry. Farhan and Parag.
Well, right now, Parag's number one rivalry is next year's cap. Because if you look at the cap percentages, and shout out Spot Track for all of the great breakdowns, I'm going to say about 50% of the cap pre-Bosa, actually, I'm sorry, more than that, and 40, 55, it's about 65% of the cap is allocated to 9 guys. And that's pre-Bosa. Mm-hmm. So if you throw Bosa's 30 in there, you're looking at 70 or so percentage of the current cap. I know the cap goes up every year.
Yep.
All you capologists.
And it's a manipulation sensation.
It can be.
Yes, it is. Every year.
It is, but as you mentioned, you get to certain points where you can no longer tack on voided.
No,
when you get these guys into their voided years, you can't reallocate their money.
Yeah, it's not unlimited, but if you're smart, and the Niners have been in the past, then you know how to be ready for these situations, which, again, there's reason number 6 why this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Everybody
I thought that was reason 5.
Everybody was ready for this. You knew this was coming. A year ago, you knew today was coming.
And you knew that it would be in the $30 million neighborhood.
Yes, he got DPOY. So did it go up? Yeah.
I'm getting more now.
It went up. But he's Joey's little brother. You thought this was going to look different than that? 30 is not a surprising number for this. It's not. Y'all knew he was better than Joey, and Joey's making 27. So this conversation didn't even start until TJ Watt's number at 28. You knew it was going to be at minimum that. How on earth can you sit here for 6 months and have not figured out something that's between 28 and 32?